Now, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Earliest childhood memory. I remember when I was about, I think 4, something around 4, and I remember going to my grandma and grandpa Westergaard's house for Christmas, and I remember that they had 5 children. There was Uncle Willie, there was Aunt Pearl, there was Aunt Ethel, there was Uncle Leo, and my mom. That's the 5, Helen. And they all had chipped together, because no one had any money, but they had all chipped together to buy Grandma and Grandpa a washing machine. And it was the biggest thrill that the Westergaard family had, that they could, get themselves together enough to chip in and get Grandma and Grandpa Westergaard a washing machine. And I remember that. I also remember it because I had 3 cousins, they would be, boys, Waylon, Richard, and Elwood. And I had always had a crush on Wayland. And so I remember, even at 4, I guess I was boy crazy at 4, and I remember that I got to, it was a time when we all got together and I got to play with Wayland.
You know what I thought? I thought that you were going to say that you remembered going over there for Christmas and they all chipped in to buy you something, because Kelly especially, in her interview, talks about how you were the center of your parents' world, and that you were this treasured, beautiful only child who they just focused all of their energy and attention on. Do you think that might be kind of her spin on it? I mean, even though you were an only child, maybe they didn't really carry around a little pillow.
Mom and Dad were very, very protective of me. And because I was an only child, I was as spoiled as they could afford. They couldn't afford to be very spoiling in terms of things, because they didn't have many. I do remember one time we went, this Christmas we went to Grandma and Grandpa Morrison's and in Merced, and we always brought the presents, up there and opened them with Grandma and Grandpa. And we're taking it out of the car, and it was a particularly heavy thing. And I was kind of go, wow, this is heavy, Mommy. And they said, oh, I baked a pound cake, and I, because Mom was never a good cook, because she never had time, she was always working. I said, you really baked a cake? I was so excited that she had baked a cake. Well, what it was I had wanted roller skates, and it was, the kind where you had the key, the roller skate key, and they had, been able to scrape together to get to get me roller skates. They did get me whatever they could. They were protective in a lot of other ways, like Mommy would make me wear 2 hats after I washed my hair if I had to go outside. So and as I grew up, they thought I had talent, and they thought because I could sing a little or something that I was some child prodigy, which of course I wasn't, but they thought so. And I remember also, because I was a cute little girl, and they were very proud of that. And they were always like, I remember getting a permanent with those, I felt like the man from Mars. They had those clamp on, and then it had strings that went up like that. It looked like a fright wig. And I remember Mom was always, like get permanent or something. But again, very protective. Like as I said, wearing 2 hats after she'd washed my hair, and to go outside, I had to, you know.
She didn't want you to get sick.
No.
Well, in those days, with an only child, you could get sick, and, they didn't have penicillin, they didn't have a lot of things, so I used to wear a snowsuit until, it was like May, and I was still in the snowsuit. But I was an only child for a lot of years, and they were very afraid of my getting sick. I think that was.
Well, I think because being an only child, that they don't have a backup if something should happen. So, and as I grew older, and I was good in school, I was, and Mom began more and more to put through me what she never had. She never had an education. She never really had a chance to develop her, not mind as much as just herself, and the more I did, the more she sort of did it through me, which as you get older and older can be a tremendous responsibility, because you are really living for 2 people, and sometimes you want to kind of go on your own and live for yourself, and it's sometimes can be a very not demanding, but because she wouldn't do it that way. It was just that you felt the responsibility.
Well, they were with you. There's that wonderful thing in the book where you talk about buying the house.
Yeah.
First house. So they were involved with you a lot.
When I came to Hollywood, and Mom and Dad left Sugar Bowl Ski Lodge, where I had been discovered, and they came to Hollywood too, to be near me. And we first rented a house together, because I was married at that time, and then that was difficult. But then they got an apartment, and Stan and I had an apartment. Then when Stan and I separated, I went and lived with my mom and dad again, which again we were the family, and finally I had enough that bought our first house. We had never owned or bought a house. We had always lived in rented places, mostly apartments, but this was the first time on Medio Drive, and it was such a thrill to be able to actually buy a place that was a lasting place that we could have, and that I could give to Mom and Dad,